In this video, I'll be going through a kind of cheats way of lighting up your polished metals easily. So we get quite a lot of questions asking about lighting up polished metals, especially for things like mirrors. In this case, I'm just using this mocha pot from the KeyShot Cloud library. If I create our camera, let's keep that camera 1, change our target and pivot to the model with the standard view front. I'm going to put a little bit of inclination on and line that up with the center of our real-time viewer. I'll save that. And in the environment tab, you can see that at the moment it's just been lit up by our startup environment. So what I'm going to do, over on the left-hand side, we have our environments library. I'm going to choose an interior because there's quite a lot going on in a lot of these HDRIs. You'll notice that these are just the ones that have come in with KeyShot as standard as well. If I drag that in, you can see our polished metal is just a reflection of the environment, and that's why it's so tricky to light up usually. So at the moment, it looks less like an aluminium, more like it's got these sort of gold colors. It also has the wooden flooring being reflected off, which doesn't look great, especially when we change it to a white background. Now, how can we use this? I'm going to go to the HDRI editor, take all the saturation out, blur our image, and now we're not getting any of those detail from the wooden paneling or any different products that might be in our scene. And we've gone back to our aluminium metal as well. So from here, all I need to do is rotate the HDRI so that we're getting somewhere that looks a little bit better. Let's say around there. And if there's certain areas that I don't like, let's say, for example, this kind of solid dark gray reflection on the spout, I can input a pin and using the set highlight tool, clicking on the area I want to be affected, and I can make my adjustments there. So I could reduce the radius, reduce the brightness, maybe up the fall off to make those edges a little bit less harsh until I've got something that I'm more happy with. And you can spend a lot of time basically painting the light on, but at least you've got a good foundation to start with. Once you're happy with the light, I can go into the image tab, change the photographic, image transform to high contrast, and start making our adjustments. So exposure, I'm going to boost. I'm going to tick the curve and reduce the shadows and midtones. And what I like to think of the curve is I'm basically making a custom contrast. Because if I'm increasing the contrast slider close to 1, then our dark is going to get darker, our lights are going to get lighter. With the curve, we're basically doing that, but we've got a little bit more control because we're adjusting each section of our curve individually. If you can get away with it, so on a product like this, it's probably not going to be completely reflective. I can add even just a tiny amount of roughness to our material. It's going to make a nice little bit of difference. And as I said before, if there's anything that you're not too happy with or you want to change slightly, going into your HDRI editor and adding pins and doing subtle effects like what we did on the spout will really make a difference too. Lastly, we are going to want to be in the image tab, and at the very bottom in layers, we have a background color tick box. Now, if I tick that, you'll see that the background color is going to slightly change to be more white, despite in the environment tab already having our background color set to white. And this is basically because the image tab and everything that we're doing inside the image tab, including the curve, including increasing the exposure, is all going to be applied to the entire final image. So that includes the white background. So all of these adjustments that I've been making are also taking effect on the white background. Might not be noticeable, but once you put that vinyl render onto your website, which might have a white background. It's going to stand out from the rest of the background. So make sure you remember to tick that. I hope that was useful. And if there's any questions, leave them as a comment below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can.